Sasha Vezenkov just continues to just get more and more comfortable, get more and more confident in his. I mean, I think he's always been pretty confident, but the comfort thing is huge. And then remaining poised because he didn't play. What game was that? He got taken out of the lineup. He didn't play against Portland, I think, and then came in the second half against OKC and hit 2 big 3s. And then he's part of the rotation again. And I think he hit another couple big 3s against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And so this is almost the bi-weekly time to give some credit to Sasha Vezenkov, who's just been playing extremely well. And, with him hitting shots, that's great. That's what you expect from him. That's what, you can kind of bet on with him. But again, limiting and kind of being a pretty decent team defender. I think he had some rough moments in Houston, but it kind of seemed like the whole team had rough moments in Houston defensively. Excluding those, he's just done such a decent job of just being solid and being good enough. And I mean, you get the shots start falling, you see him, kind of hold his form there, looking more comfortable with his teammates and having fun on the bench. I mean, I think we touched upon this 2 weeks ago, but I mean, it's all the more stronger now. And that comfort here seems to be elevated. I think Darren Fox was saying it's like, it takes a lot to just move to a different state, to go from Texas to California or whatever. But to go from, Bulgaria or Greece to the United States, it's just like, that's a huge jump. And he's talking about Sasha Vezenkov being extremely comfortable. So that almost feels ahead of schedule when you really think about like the human components of having to kind of acclimate, not just to a different and more tough league, but to a different environment completely. I mean, that's a pro.
Something about watching Sasha drain threes. I don't know. Something about his three is it's just so pure. He's such a good shooter. It's so fun watching him shoot.
I think it'll be really interesting when Trey Lyles finally comes back. And it doesn't really seem like there's much of a timeline for Trey Lyles. But when he does come back, I mean, if Vezenkov's still playing like this, that makes it really interesting. And, that really brings up that small 5 conversation. And using Lyles at the 5 and kind of mixing them off the bench, or maybe just going matchup space. But it's just like that whole issue of when Lyles comes back isn't an issue at all. That's a luxury. I mean, there's going to be so much for Brown to play with there.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see how he works with that, because I feel like that could be, as much as he wants to keep kind of a certain rotation to keep it as stable for different stretches. I think if there was one part that was going to be a little more fluid in the short term, at any given time, it might be that center situation. I know he said earlier, I think in training camp, that he'd like to kind of stick with one backup 5 and kind of go with that for different stretches and stuff like that, keep it a little more consistent. But I mean, if Lyles, if Vezenkov are playing well, if Len and McGee are doing what they need to do, you can really play with that. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens, because I mean, any way you cut it, Lyles, and he hasn't had a chance to show anything this year, but after the season he had last year, it's like that's one of your steady 7 or 8 players. And if Vezenkov is doing super well and getting even more comfortable, I mean, like, I'm just talking in circles here. That's just, again, it's a luxury. It's a great problem to have, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It will be. And kind of a little note on Lyles too. I mean, Lyles isn't, he's not even a starter. He's not even our 6th man. Like, Monk has that job, but we've been without him all year, and it's easy to overlook. As much as I love Lyles, and I think everyone does, it's like, dang, how much better are we going to get when he's back too? Like I said, he's no Fox or no Sabonis, but I mean, he plays a pretty decent role on this team. So, I mean, thinking that we've missed him all year too, I mean, they're only going to get better, and that's exciting to think about.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of a guy that was, a consistent star in his role, he may have filled that box, the best. I mean, like, Monk has obviously got a bigger impact, but in terms of consistency, like, Lyles was as dependable as anybody. He was almost as dependable as Sabonis last season. So, yeah, and he plays both ends of the floor well. I know Mike Brown said something about, I don't remember when it was. I think it was early in the season or in preseason. He said something about like playing Lyles and or Vezenkov at the three, maybe playing them together with the center out there. I don't know if he's going to do that, but I mean, he said it last season. The two and the through the four, 2, 3, and 4 positions are kind of the same. So that might even expand the possibilities even more. But that's a good point. I mean, about Lyles, and that you kind of got to give credit to Vezenkov there. I mean, I think the team is better when Lyles is playing, but the fact that they've managed a 5-4 record, and if you kind of take those 3 losses out, I mean, take the 2 Houston losses out, the Kings have had a pretty good year, and Vezenkov he's been a fairly significant reason why.